Thanks for the invitation to participate in such an important activity today. And I'm thrilled to be able to speak to you all on this significant occasion for Aboriginal community controlled housing in WA. And I'd like to acknowledge the Minister for Housing, Lands, Homelessness and Local Government, Honourable John Carey, special guests, sector partners and other First Nations people that are attending today. It's a fantastic event. The aim of NATSIA is to improve housing outcomes for First Nations people right across the country, and to end homelessness and other impacts on inappropriate housing, such as severe overcrowding that's experienced in a lot of our communities, or quite most of them actually. And those other social determinants that emerge if you don't have appropriate housing. And each of our First Nations communities are unique in its own right. Things such as our languages, and of course on the eastern seaboard where I grew up, as identified in my bio, that I guess we were first impacted through languages and other cultural areas, which we're slowly but surely recovering a lot of that. But we hold language, knowledge systems and beliefs quite strongly in our communities, and it's a significant part of our culture and the fabric of our culture. And obviously we have a special relationship to our traditional lands, our waters and our territories. And again, that's another area that we have to continue to struggle with different levels of government around acknowledging that quite significant link we have to the land and Mother Earth, and the importance of it. Whilst we fight the legal systems around those processes, such as land rights and native title and so on, they can never take that away from our culture, even though they put hurdles and hoops in front of us. And I know that opportunities that having a secure place to call home provides for our people. And it's been recognised by government as enshrined within the National Agreement on Closing the Gap, that programs and services developed and implemented by our people through community-controlled organisations delivers better and more sustainable and culturally appropriate outcomes. And it's obvious, but it's a struggle to get that recognised. But we've seen some major inroads in that being achieved through the National Agreement and the Closing Gap and the Coalition of Peaks and the great work that is done through there. And NATSIA considers that the way forward is to invest in the housing community control sector. That's the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community control sector, which will produce significantly better social, health and economic outcomes, working collaboratively with our community control sectors, particularly health, and the obvious interrelationship that good housing has on better health outcomes. But we need to get that recognised by government, state, federal and local, and have a longer term approach and agreement on how we go forward. Being linked into the Westminster system is a very difficult thing to achieve outcomes in short periods of times and windows of opportunity to get through the election cycle. And we've got 3 tiers of government that we have to deal with that through. But as we can see in WA, and this initiative and the WA government is getting right behind our issues around community controlled housing, which is great to see. The National Housing Finance and Investment Corporation, NIFIC, established by the Australian government in 2018, supports investment in social and affordable housing by lowering the cost of finance for community housing providers. NIFIC has had some success in doing this, but the need for more affordable housing is projected to be far more than has been able to be built through this useful intervention. In that regard, NATSIA is aware of the calls from the mainstream community housing sector, particularly the Community Housing Industry Association and National Shelter, to leverage off NIFIC to secure much better affordable housing outcomes. And in particular, NATSIA participated in the Constellation project, and I did that quite personally for some time now, with those peak bodies in the mainstream system to develop a proposal for a housing boost aggregator to supplement the affordable housing bond aggregator to enable more finance to be made available to the community housing sector. We've had very recent meetings, progressive meetings with a senior executive of NIFIC to find ways in which, by acknowledging the use of the aggregators and so forth, and more creative ways that could promote and deliver, well, promote more access by our sector and deliver more outcomes through the different stakeholders and partners in the NIFIC arrangements. But getting back to the prospectus, which outlines how the WA community-controlled housing sector co-delivers positive outcomes for their tenants. Having a strong and well-resourced community-controlled sector has been life-changing. I've seen how strong and capable WA Aboriginal community housing sector increases social and affordable housing and home ownership options for our people. And let's not forget, home ownership has been a pivotal part of an economic base for mainstream Australians, and yet we still have much lower levels of take up of that opportunity, or the ability to be able to take up that opportunity for our people. The community-controlled Aboriginal sector in WA is integral to closing the gap and providing appropriate housing choices and solutions, and they're doing a fantastic job. And of course, if they are increasingly and progressively better resourced and supported, they'll increase those outcomes, positive outcomes for our people in WA. I encourage you to consider the contents of what this prospectus presents, making housing accessible and culturally safe for First Nations people, while ensuring the quality of housing promotes a healthy and safe life, and hopefully extension of that lifespan for our people, which is a major part of the actions and outcomes from the closing the gap. Their work is aligned with several state government priorities in WA to create opportunity and reduce disadvantage, including agencies such as the Department of Communities, Aboriginal Community Controlled Organisation Strategy, and All Paths Lead to a Home, which is WA's 10-year strategy on homeless, covering 2020 to 2030, and the Department of Premier and Cabinet's A Path Forward, developing the Western Australian Government's Aboriginal Empowerment Strategy, and great initiatives of the WA Government. And I'm sure over time in that period, 10-year period, increasingly we'll see some fantastic outcomes from that. If anything, I urge you just to read the stories from the tenants themselves. This prospectus illustrates the impact that each Aboriginal community-controlled housing organisation has on changing their lives. Real change is happening right now thanks to their hard work. Imagine your support, with more of your support, how much more can be done. So in conclusion, I'd just like to thank everyone for participating today, and I'd particularly like to thank our Aboriginal community control organisations and WA Shelter for the great work that they've done in supporting our sector to get where we are today. So thank you all, and unfortunately I haven't been able to be with you over there physically, but I will be coming over there fairly soon. So thank you, goodbye, and good luck.